Every 4 years, the world stops. Factories slow down, offices empty, bars fill up. Billions of people across every continent, every language, every culture, all watching the same thing at the same time. No war has ever united the world like this. No election, no natural disaster, no technological breakthrough, only football, only the World Cup. But here is the question that nobody asks while they are cheering, crying, and celebrating in the streets. Who is actually making money from all of this? Because the World Cup is not just the greatest sporting event on earth, it is one of the most sophisticated financial operations ever constructed. A machine that generates billions of dollars every 4 years, concentrates power in the hands of a very few, and leaves entire nations carrying debts that last decades. Today, we are going to follow the money, all of it, from FIFA's boardrooms in Zurich to the empty stadiums in Qatar, from the billion-dollar sponsorship deals signed in secret to the workers who built the infrastructure and never saw a cent of profit. This is the World Cup financial machine. And by the end of this video, you will never watch a match the same way again. To understand the money, you first need to understand the entity that controls it. FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, was founded in Paris in 1904 by 7 European football associations. Today, it has 211 member associations, more than the United Nations, which has 193 member states. Let that sink in. FIFA has more members than the United Nations. And unlike governments, which must answer to voters, or corporations, which must answer to shareholders, FIFA answers to almost no one. It is a non-profit organization registered in Switzerland, a legal structure that has historically provided extraordinary protection from taxation, regulation, and external scrutiny. The numbers it generates are staggering. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar generated $7.5 billion in revenue for FIFA. The 2026 World Cup, hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, is projected to generate over $11 billion. FIFA distributed approximately $440 million in prize money to participating teams in Qatar. It sounds generous, until you realize that FIFA kept the other $7 billion. For the 2022 World Cup, FIFA sold broadcasting rights to over 200 countries and territories. In the United States, Fox Sports paid approximately $400 million for the rights. Globally, broadcasting deals for a single World Cup generate over $3 billion. Money that flows directly into FIFA's accounts before a single ball is kicked. And this is not a competitive market. There is only one World Cup. There is only one FIFA. If you want to broadcast the tournament, you pay FIFA's price. There is no alternative, no negotiation, no competitor offering a better deal. The 2015 FIFA corruption scandal, in which 14 officials were indicted by the United States Department of Justice on charges of racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering, was not an aberration. It was the visible surface of a system that had been operating in the shadows for decades. Over $150 million in bribes had allegedly been paid in connection with the sale of media and marketing rights across multiple World Cup cycles. The lesson of the FIFA scandal is not that football is corrupt. The lesson is that unaccountable monopolies, regardless of the industry, will always tend towards self-serving behavior when external oversight is absent. Hosting the World Cup is supposed to be an honor, a gift a historic opportunity to showcase your nation to the world, attract tourism, build infrastructure, and stimulate economic growth. The economic reality tells a different story. Brazil spent approximately $15 billion hosting the 2014 World Cup. The Brazilian government had initially projected costs of $3 billion. Final costs were 5 times higher. 12 stadiums were built or renovated, several in cities with no professional football teams of meaningful size. The Arena Amazonia in Manaus, a city in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, cost $300 million to build and hosted exactly 4 World Cup matches. Today, it is used primarily for local amateur games. Maintenance costs approximately $300,000 per month. Russia spent an estimated $14 billion on the 2018 World Cup. New stadiums were built in cities like Saransk and Yekaterinburg, neither of which had sufficient local demand to justify the infrastructure. Several of those stadiums have since struggled to generate sustainable revenue. Qatar spent, and estimates here vary significantly depending on the source and methodology, somewhere between $220 billion and $300 billion on the 2022 World Cup. The Qatari government itself cited figures closer to $8 billion for direct tournament costs, while independent economists who included broader infrastructure investment arrived at numbers in the hundreds of billions. Regardless of which figure you accept, the scale is unprecedented. The economic case for hosting a World Cup has been studied extensively by economists, and the conclusion is remarkably consistent. The financial returns almost never justify the investment. Tourism during the tournament is real but temporary. The billions spent on infrastructure often benefit a narrow class of contractors, real estate developers, and connected business interests rather than the broader population. The pattern is consistent enough to constitute a rule. The honor of hosting the World Cup is real. The economic windfall is largely a myth. If FIFA's monopoly on the tournament itself is the engine of its financial power, the sponsorship structure is the fuel. The 2022 World Cup had 6 FIFA partners, the highest tier of sponsorship, including Adidas, Coca-Cola, Hyundai/Kia, Qatar Airways, Visa, and Wanda Group. Each of these partners paid an estimated $150 million to $200 million for the privilege of being associated with the tournament. In return, they received global branding rights, exclusive category sponsorship, and the most valuable advertising real estate on Earth: the screens of 4 billion viewers. The total sponsorship revenue for a single World Cup exceeds $1.5 billion. But the real value of World Cup sponsorship is not measured in FIFA's revenue alone. It is measured in the commercial returns that sponsors generate from their association with the tournament. Adidas estimates that World Cup years generate a significant uplift in football boot and replica kit sales, measurable in hundreds of millions of dollars globally. The economics of World Cup sponsorship operate on a simple principle. The investment is large, but the access it buys to 4 billion simultaneous viewers in an environment of peak emotional engagement is impossible to replicate through any other marketing channel on Earth. Of all the revenue streams that flow into FIFA's accounts, none is larger, none is more consistently growing, and none more clearly illustrates the financial architecture of the modern World Cup than broadcasting rights. In 1966, the BBC paid £15,000 to broadcast the World Cup in England. In 2022, global broadcasting rights for a single tournament were worth over $3 billion. That is a return of approximately 20 million% in less than 60 years. The mechanism is straightforward. FIFA owns the exclusive rights to the World Cup broadcast. It sells those rights to television networks and streaming platforms on a market-by-market basis. The shift to streaming has accelerated this dynamic. Traditional broadcasters have been joined by deep-pocketed streaming platforms willing to pay premium prices to acquire mass audiences. The result is an arms race for live sports rights that has consistently driven prices upward with every successive World Cup cycle. For the 2026 World Cup, the first to feature 48 teams rather than 32, FIFA has deliberately engineered additional value. More teams means more matches. 104 versus 64 in previous tournaments. More matches means more broadcast hours. More broadcast hours means higher aggregate rights fees. The expansion from 32 to 48 teams was not primarily a sporting decision. It was a financial one. All of this financial architecture, the broadcasting deals, the sponsorships, the host nation investments, ultimately rests on one foundation: the players. Without Messi, without Ronaldo, without Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., and the dozens of elite athletes whose names and faces are recognized across every continent, the World Cup is just a football tournament. With them, it is a global cultural event that generates billions. The transformation began in 1995 with the Bosman ruling, a European Court of Justice decision that fundamentally altered the relationship between players, clubs, and the market. Before Bosman, clubs could retain a player's registration even after their contract expired. After Bosman, players could move as free agents at the end of their contracts. The ruling unleashed market forces on player wages that had previously been artificially suppressed. The single most dramatic illustration of this transformation came in 2017, when Paris Saint-Germain activated the release clause in Neymar's Barcelona contract, paying $263 million for a single player. That transfer fee remains the highest in football history. It was not just a sporting transaction. It was a statement about what World Cup-level visibility is worth in the modern commercial landscape. Cristiano Ronaldo's lifetime deal with Nike, signed in 2016, is reported to be worth over $1 billion. The first such deal in football history. The contract was not signed because of Ronaldo's club goals. It was signed because of what his visibility at World Cups had done to his global brand recognition. The financial relationship between elite players, their national associations, and global sponsors has become one of the most complex and lucrative ecosystems in international commerce. We have followed the money into FIFA's accounts, into the broadcasting deals, into the sponsorship structures, into the players' pockets. Now we need to ask the uncomfortable question: where does all of this money ultimately come from? It comes from the fan, the supporter who buys a replica kit at $120, the family that pays $300 per person for a match ticket at the stadium, the subscriber who pays for the streaming platform that paid $400 million for broadcasting rights, the taxpayer in Brazil whose government redirected public funds from schools and hospitals to build a $300 million stadium in the Amazon. The World Cup financial machine is, at its foundation, a system for converting the passion of billions of ordinary people into concentrated financial returns for a very small number of institutions and individuals. This is not a conspiracy. It is a structural reality. The same dynamic. Passion converted into concentrated profit, with the cost distributed broadly and the benefit concentrated narrowly, operates across many of the largest financial systems in the modern world. The World Cup just makes it visible. Now, the part that matters most. Because it's sovereign wealth, we don't just analyze systems, we extract what you can use. Lesson 1. Follow the monopoly. FIFA's extraordinary profitability is not the result of superior management or innovation. It is the result of owning an irreplaceable asset, the World Cup, in a market where competition is structurally impossible. When you identify a business, an asset, or an investment that holds genuine monopoly power over something the world cannot do without, you have found one of the most durable sources of financial return that exists. The challenge is finding them before the market fully prices them in. Lesson 2. Understand who bears the cost of someone else's prestige. Host nations spend hundreds of billions to associate themselves with the World Cup brand, and the economic returns consistently fail to justify the investment. Separate the emotional value of prestige from its financial value. They are rarely the same number. Lesson 3. Broadcasting rights are a financial instrument. The consistent, dramatic appreciation of live sports broadcasting rights, from £15,000 in 1966 to $3 billion today, is one of the most remarkable asset appreciation stories in financial history. Media rights, intellectual property, and exclusive content licenses are financial instruments with measurable compounding value. The investors who understood this earliest have generated extraordinary returns. Lesson 4. Passion is a market inefficiency. The billions of people who watch the World Cup are not making rational financial decisions. They are acting on emotion. And wherever large groups of people act on emotion rather than analysis, financial opportunities exist for those who remain analytical. Sports betting markets, merchandise cycles, tourism flows, and equity price movements around major sporting events all exhibit patterns that reward the calm, prepared investor. Lesson 5. The beautiful game has an ugly balance sheet. Sustainable wealth is built by understanding the difference between entertainment and investment. By recognizing when you are a consumer in someone else's financial system and making conscious choices about how much of your resources you allocate to that role. Enjoy the World Cup. Feel everything it is designed to make you feel. And then, when the final whistle blows, remember who owns the stadium. FIFA generated billions, sponsors generated billions, broadcasters generated billions, players generated millions. Yet the people who created the atmosphere, filled the stadiums, bought the shirts, paid the subscriptions, and made the tournament valuable in the first place were never paid at all. The World Cup is many things simultaneously. It is the greatest sporting event in human history, a genuine miracle of collective human passion that transcends language, culture, and conflict in ways that nothing else on earth can match. And it is a financial machine of extraordinary sophistication, designed, refined, and operated over more than a century to concentrate the economic value of that passion into the accounts of FIFA, its partners, its sponsors, and the small number of individuals who sit at the top of its structure. Both of these things are true at the same time. The most financially intelligent position is not to refuse to participate in the magic of the tournament. It is to participate with full awareness of the system you are operating within. See the beauty, understand the architecture. That combination of genuine appreciation and clear-eyed understanding is what separates the financially sovereign from the financially passive. If this changed how you see one of the world's most watched events, subscribe to Sovereign Wealth Every week, we pull back the curtain on the systems that shape your financial reality. We'll see you next time.